Hey, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. My name is Jim Cockram. I'm the host today, along with a guest, Sue, last name withheld upon request. She's a proven Amazon course student who's been in the world of launching products for quite some time before she discovered e-commerce. But because of a serious accident that put her out of commission physically for about 18 months, some serious back injuries, as she explains today. That's when she discovered e-commerce, and that's when she started discovering our community and getting into some of the things we teach around here. And she's having incredible success. She's running a very high margin business, doing the models that we teach inside the Proven Amazon course. She's got a community that I should say, a mastermind group that she's a part of from this community. They all met together, as she'll explain on today's episode, at our last live event that happened in summer of 2023. They're planning to be at our next one in May of 2024 already. Of course, I'm talking about The Proven Conference. That's the website, theprovenconference.com. But the power of that community, the branded bundles that she's launched, the Amazon influencer stuff that she talks about today, that's just rocking. She's killing it with that. It's just such an inspirational message today. She's been through the ringer. She was in a very dark place. She's now come out of that, and she's ready to just share her story, encourage and inspire. I was so encouraged listening to her today, what she's overcome, the business that she's built. And this is a very impressive business. She's working 8 to 10 hours a week so she can do the things that she's truly passionate about with the rest of her time, which in her case, I'll let her share the story, is a pretty inspirational project that she's been involved with for quite some time that helped pull her out of her dark place. So a lot of inspiration today, a lot of very specific tips and ideas and strategies. I love that she says while she was sitting on her couch, she was able to make this business happen and grow her business. That's what appealed to her about the e-commerce model. She's on her Amazon sales alone from one strategy. She's doing about $25,000 to $30,000 a month at about 25% net profit. So she'll explain that. That's the branded bundles. We talked about that a lot in our proven brandedbundles.com class, which if you're not a part of that yet, it's not too late. Jump in there. We've recorded the sessions, but you can still get in there and get your hands on those. She's going to be at our conference as a VIP attendee, and she explains why that was so significant last year as opposed to general admission. The big reason, just to kind of reveal ahead of time, is because you get assigned a mastermind group, and she recognizes the importance of that, just based on the success of the group that she's a part of. There's so many other things I could tell you as a part of the introduction here, but I think what I'm going to do instead is just let Sue share from her heart. You're going to love getting to know this lady, and if you want to come meet her, along with some of the hundreds of other people that you've heard us interview on this show, plan on being with us at our conference in May. Theprovenconference.com is the website. As a reminder, if you go to silentjimdotcom and you look up this episode, today's episode, you'll be able to see all the notes. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. We have about 10% of our listeners catch us on YouTube. You can see all the links there as well, or in your favorite podcast listening app. But you don't have to furiously write down any notes today. Any links or resources that we reference, I'll stick them off for you in the show note. One last little announcement that I promise will turn it over to Sue. If you happen to be new around here, you haven't heard this yet, you can text the word free, F-R-E-E, text that word to the phone number I'm about to give you and get a copy of the all-new version of the book that launched this podcast and launched our community. We've coached over 10,000 people in e-commerce over the past 20 years. So many great success stories. And this book was what started it all. It was a story initially of my success with e-commerce, which is the only income my family's had for 20 years. We raised 5 kids, homeschooled them. My wife was able to stay home. It's been all e-commerce, all multiple income streams, and we've identified a handful of legitimate opportunities, and we help you decide which one is best for you in this book. So you ready for that phone number? That number is 507-800-0090. Again, text the word free to the phone number 507-800-0090. That'll get you a free copy of the book, 100% free. Whole book, no other opt-in required. Now, if you want to use email to opt in, there's a link in the show notes. Again, silentjim.com is the link you need. Jump over there. There's a link where you get an email version of the same book. All right, let's jump over and meet Sue. You're going to really enjoy this episode. So, Sue, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you.
Good to see you again. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be back.
Well, I can't wait to dive into your story and capture some of this good stuff for the listeners. We talked a little offline, but it was time to hit the record button. You've got a lot going on, and it's a beautiful story. Let's go.
Yeah, so I have been selling for just about a year. So I think it was a 1 year last week. And I actually started with another group. So I started with a smaller group that was really just focused in on launching. And I think, when I went through their course, they said, you can start with retail arbitrage, you can move up to online arbitrage, wholesale, and then private label, but don't do private label if you're a beginner. And I think what I heard is skip steps 1 through 3 and go straight to 4. So I actually started with private label. I was profitable, I was successful with private label just because of my background. It just kind of led me into that place instead of retail arbitrage to start with. So I started that in October, November, and then I decided I wanted to try a branded bundle. So I went ahead and I registered another trademark. I already had one for my private label, and I started that in December, and it took off. And so that one ASIN did about 60,000 in about 60 days. And so it was selling like hotcakes. And on my way, we were doing a cross country trip for the holidays, and I stumbled on your podcast. And so when I was on my way, I was listening to hours and hours and hours about replens. I had never done a replen really, like just a little bit, but not in the way that you taught it. So I bought the course. And as it turns out, my hot selling ASIN got discontinued nationwide and I couldn't source it anymore. And I really didn't have any other ASINs in my pipeline, except that I was now doing the replens. And so when my sales dropped, I at least had a base of sales that I could kind of go back, look at, and test. And then that evolved into just creating more bundles. And so it took me a few months to kind of get my numbers back to where they were before, but I
Right.
certainly had a lot more knowledge going into
So the
it by.
product that sold out was that first successful bundle you referenced, correct? And then that product just sold out and became, yeah, because part of doing the branded bundles is you're relying on another brand to keep making the stuff that's in your bundle. And it's a beautiful model. And we're going to talk more about it here as this show goes on. But I didn't realize that about your story, that you had to just blast off the launch pad with success on your first branded bundle before you even knew the basics that we teach around here, which is so great. And for those who don't know, we say it all the time if you're new around here, but we say this all the time. Only about 5% of the people who start the way Sue did actually end up making money. That's why we don't start people there. But again, because of your background and you got some good products rocking, you had some big success. And it just shows the potential of what's out there. But okay, I just wanted to be clear that on what ASIN vanished on you, what product or brand vanished.
Yeah, and I was, I was getting it through a little of online arbitrage and retail arbitrage as getting it from a big box retailer. I was wiping them out as fast as I could. Amazon would send alerts, send in 1,000 more units, and I'd be like, I can't find 1,000 more
Where
units.
you tell me where they are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't, I didn't realize that the product had been discontinued because it was still in the warehouses at the big box retailer, so I could still
Mm,
grab it. But, it was a sort of sad day when it was discontinued. And then I was okay because it was really hard to keep up with it. And I realized a lot about myself in that process. I don't like RA. Like, I just don't. It's just not my thing. It's things for other people. And I also realized that I kind of need a prep center. Like, doing all of this work by myself was pretty tough. And so just kind of that reset, even though it was sad to see the sales go away and kind of have to like start all over again, at least I was starting from a place that I understood the data. I understood what was in front of me, and I understood what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do.
right. Beautiful. Adds a lot of energy to your business model when you launch off the very start with a big win like that. A lot of good lessons learned, obviously, in this first couple of months. So yeah, let's keep the story going though. I love you kind of said offline before we hit record, you've done things in reverse order. And yeah,
Yeah.
you
I
kind of
mean,
have, but you've made it work.
I've made it work. And I think it's because of my background. I think the 5% of people that are successful with private label probably have a similar background. So
As new
I've,
sellers. Yeah.
yeah.
What
So
goes into that background? I'm curious, just so we can help people
yeah,
identify
yeah.
maybe
So
they are
I've
qualified.
spent 20 plus years being a independent consultant in the publishing space,
Mhm.
primarily for small kitchen appliances. So
Mhm.
it started with, doing recipe content, recipe development, cookbooks, evolved to doing products in the box, evolved to doing and products being in the box, like your instruction manual. So if
Yeah.
you've ever bought a stand mixer, a slow cooker,
Gotcha.
a pressure cooker, a countertop oven, chances are I've been involved in some or all of that. And then, eventually evolved into new product introductions with brands where they wanted
Mhm.
to really talk about social auditing and what are consumers looking for and are these the right
Right.
functions and can you do the testing for us? And so my team would do that. And, we were pretty nimble on getting this stuff done for clients. And a lot of my clients were introducing their products on Amazon. And
Right.
so I had kind
You're
of
as qualified as anyone I've ever heard to actually
yeah, so
take a stab
I
at it.
had an inside view of it.
Yeah.
And then our publications, we'd have to work with China. So like I was
Mhm.
very familiar with working with China. I understood the production cycle. And I
Mhm.
also understood something that we talk about with replens, which is test small and not go too deep.
Yes.
And, seeing my clients, when we would have a new product and a prototype, you would think, I mean, these are billion-dollar iconic brands. You would think that they're coming in with thousands of units to prototype and test.
Right.
They were coming in with 3 or 4 hand-built units,
Yep.
one to engineering, one to brand, one to me, one to see if it's gonna crash test. And so, I really understood the start small. And
Yeah.
so in saying I was successful in private label, I didn't go very deep. I didn't like buy thousands and thousands of units. I bought what I thought was an appropriate amount to test. And then it kind of continued to work on that from testing. And I think a lot of times, when you hear gurus talking about private label, the assumption is you're going out of the gate and you're making $100,000 like right out of the gate with private label. And you don't understand that there's PPC involved, that there's, just coming in from China can be challenging. There is the
Absolutely.
slow boat from China. So, like all
Yeah.
of those things that go into play, it was just a more comfortable spot for me to be in.
For sure.
Uh,
That makes total sense now that I know that part of your story. You had
yeah,
all the advantages, all the boxes that need to be checked, plus a few extras that I don't even typically consider that made you more than qualified. It's just been so frustrating for me. I mean, I've been teaching e-commerce for over 20 years, Amazon for 12, 13 plus 14, come on, 14 actually years. And just the hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands at this point, of stories of people that fill their garage with stuff they just can't sell now. And they want someone to help them market out of the hole they've dug. There's no magic button for that situation. And so he says, slow down. Our message to the market for a decade has been don't start with private label unless you are ridiculously qualified, which you were, obviously. So congrats on that.
yeah,
But even
and
you kind of drifted into some of these other opportunities, which is kind of cool to
good.
see, right? You
Yeah,
recognize,
so and I guess let me talk about how I actually got into e-commerce. So,
yeah.
2 things happened. One, the pandemic. So, as a consultant, a lot of my client money just kind of dried up.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of like, not as busy. And then I unfortunately had like a terrible accident and I broke my back in 3 places and I was literally laid up. And so it took me, 18 months, just to be able to walk again. And so, like, kind of in that 18 months of just kind of this like mental and physical journey, I really had to dig deep on like, what do I want to do when I come out of this? Like, I didn't think I could be back in an office situation because I don't think I can sit that long in one spot. And so I wanted something that gave me what I would call financial flexibility. I wanted to have flexibility with my time and flexibility with my space. And I also wanted to have very meaningful work. And this is part of that. But, I have passion projects that I'm like very passionate about that I feel like I wanted to create space to volunteer in that capacity. And I needed an income that would give me that flexibility. So that's how I just kind of like stumbled into, Amazon to some degree.
So you've left your former career,
I have for the
correct?
most
And
part. I do.
some consulting maybe, or
Yeah, the financial flexibility to me is the ability to say no. So I
exactly.
do have clients that reach out.
Right.
I've done, some recent work with clients that, is pretty exciting, but if the work doesn't excite me, I want the ability to say no.
Yeah.
and concentrate on things that are pretty exciting to me.
Well, I know you'd been on the show before, and I'd forgotten about the car accident that led to just, and again, anytime I hear about someone who's gone through that dark place, that pit, that hole, that valley, that uncertainty, kudos to you. I mean, that's why I call us business building warriors, because you very easily could have just kind of been done at that point, or the physical therapy you had to go through. I don't know what all was involved, but I'm sure that's a huge part of your story. The pain management that went into that, just all the inconveniences of the trips to the doctor and the checkups and the just incredible mess you had to navigate. So good for you.
But
Good for you.
it gives you incredible perspective on what's important.
Absolutely. Gratitude, right? To emerge with
Yeah,
gratitude and
of
a
course.
sense of perspective. A lot of
And
people
the
don't. They go
ability,
dark.
well, my big thing coming out of it was, what can I do to really help someone? And, not only just on Amazon, my side passion is I'm president of Chicago Rowing Foundation, and I work with our athletes.
Really?
Yeah, so I work with our
That's
athletes
incredible.
on getting them to college, and so that is,
Good
a
for you.
passion project of mine.
Yeah.
Our athletes, a third of them are in free or reduced lunch, so they don't have the money,
Mhm.
but I've managed to have 100% of our kids matriculate onto college. I've placed everyone at every single Ivy League school, every single high academic school. And to give myself time to be meaningful in that space for the kids meant I need to have flexible time on a business, and that's really what Amazon's been able to do for me.
Man,
So
that's
I,
outstanding.
I
I
can,
didn't know that part of your story.
yeah, it's
You're
fun. So, like, if you are a rower that's listening to this, like, you speak my language, like, let's jump in a boat at the next conference. Like, we'll go over to
It
Orlando Rowing Club,
it
and
is
we'll have.
awesome. Yeah, we'll talk more about the conference in a minute. They do have a lot of, well, I mean, there's a lake every 300 yards in Central Florida. So, wow, we'll talk about the conference there. But so you're able to row again. I mean, that's, as a guy who considers
Yeah,
myself an athlete as I'm getting older, like that kind of like, okay, you can't do anything for 18 months. Like that would be soul crushing for me. Like I'd really have to fight through that. You had to, you sound like you're someone who really appreciates your sport. Was that,
yeah,
that had to have been hard.
I don't race anymore. So like
Sure. But
that
just to
is
stay.
something that, I can't do right now, but
Mhm.
it took me 18 months to get back into a boat, but it was a pretty magical time just to be able to say, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to row, and I'm going to make the boat move. And I can do that, with my body that's, not perfect and, like was definitely really broken, but some degree, I feel like rowing really kind of helped save me in terms of just my physical strength and being able to get back into the sport that I love. So,
Well, I'm good friends with a physical therapist. Maybe he's listening, Jamie. He actually worked on me just this morning on a little injury I'm dealing with. Nothing like that. But he says rowing is physiologically, if you can only do one exercise, get a rower. He said that to me for years.
yeah,
He's like, anything else you do, there's going to be benefits and disadvantages. Rowing only, it's like pure advantage, pure, every part of your body is engaged, mind, body, spirit, every muscle, every tendon, everything. You're working everything. He loves it.
yeah. It's a fascinating sport. So, I mean, I could talk all day long about that. I'm sure your listeners are not so interested in
Yeah,
rowing.
I'm fascinated.
The
You and I could
gritty.
definitely dig into it
Yeah.
more. I'm just the point I want to make though, Sue, is you're one of these people that it's like the more layers you peel back, the more interesting. Like, whoa, I didn't know that about you. You've got the heart of a lion. You are an overcomer. You are a warrior. So, what an honor. Seriously, well done, man. That's just so cool. What you've and hopefully that resonates with some other people. I think we're going to encourage some folks out of some semi-dark places with what you've shared so far. And business has kind of been one of the things that pulled you out. And I know some of the relationships as well. The first time you were on our show was with a group of people, a mastermind you'd formed, mostly, I think, if not exclusively, but at least mostly from this community of listeners to this show and people who attended our last conference, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe talk to us a little bit about the power of that. And we'll talk into some of the other strategies that you've used next after that?
Yeah. So, one of the things about this business is it can be very lonely. And I think, having, the virtual connections with other people is important. And so, I wanted to kind of create that smaller community. We have obviously within PAC, there's a large community of 70,000, right? But it's a little scary sometimes. Sometimes you
Sure.
just want
For
to
me
ask a
too.
question, right? So, like, this was a group of sellers. We had all started with the same group before. We had all evolved over to PAC. So there was kind of this joint history. And then we just kind of organized it into a primary group chat that is mostly, FBA, FBM questions. And then we have subgroup chats under there as well. So we've got branded bundles. So everyone that's worked on that, we help each other with trademarks. And, I think I've designed everyone's logo in the group, except for one person, because we just want to help each other, right? Like we want to
Mhm.
help each other succeed. We have an influencer group. I was approved for on-site commissions back in May. And one of the really interesting, powerful things about being with the group is there was 4 of us that were invited into an incentive by Amazon. And in a lot of these other groups that we're in, people were like, oh, I made $500. I made $1,000. Like, that's awesome. But this was a really, really hard incentive with a big payout. And the 4 of us just encouraged each other every single day, gave each other ideas on how to do it. And collectively, we made $50,000 between the 4 of us. And that's meaningful. And that's the difference between having a strong community that has your back and maybe trying to go at it alone. Because there's so many days where I have to wake up and be like, I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And like try to convince myself of that. But
The
having
little
other
engine who
people,
could, right? That
yeah, but having
internal.
other people that can encourage you, like we're
Mhm.
we're all new sellers. Like we're all less than a year, right around a year. So we don't
Yeah.
know everything, but we're
Yeah.
trying, and anyone can encourage anyone else. It doesn't matter how long you've been selling. Everyone has started somewhere, right? Like my worst sales day is 0. Like your worst sales day was 0 because we all had to start
Absolutely.
somewhere.
I've lost
So,
my worst sales days were probably negative, but thankfully never really negative like some folks like buying inventory that's never going to sell again.
right, right.
But that's where we encourage inch deep, mile wide, proceed with caution, slow and steady. Well, you introduced a couple terms. I'm sure there's people who jotted them down real fast and like, hey, what did you just say? Amazon influencer program, branded bundles, couple things we've talked about so
Yeah,
far. And we'll get into the influencer program here in just a minute. If there's a website I want to introduce, provenazinfluencer.com. Proven AZ is an Amazon influencer.com. I'll stick it in the show notes too. We've got a new course coming soon from some people who are in our community who are doing really well with Amazon's influencer program. And that's what you were just describing, where you make videos, you load them onto Amazon. And if those lead to people making purchases on Amazon, then you get paid. You don't have to drive any traffic. It's a pretty straightforward, pretty simple program that they've built, but you've dove pretty deep into that and you're doing well with it. But before we dive into that, I want to talk
yeah,
about the branded bundle thing, and then we'll talk about
of course,
influencers.
of
Okay.
course.
Because we kind of left that part of your story like you had some momentum, then it kind of crashed. Now you're getting back into it. I know you've taken some of our content lately. Let's just talk about your branded bundles and then we'll get
Yeah,
into the
but I would
influencer.
say probably 95% of my business right now is branded bundles
Right.
and private. I've used the replens mostly as a testing ground to see, like check the sales velocity. If
Yeah.
it's working as a replen, it's likely going to work as a branded bundle.
Right. I don't
Um,
want to breeze past that, Sue. Sorry,
yeah,
time out.
yeah, yeah, of course,
This is
of course.
why, let me just allow me to make a point for a moment for the listener's sake, especially if you're new. The basic skills you learn selling replens. We don't teach replens because we want you to stay there for 9 years. If you're making money, keep doing it. Build a system, make it beautiful. I do replens all day, every day in our business, but that's the foundation and that skill set. Like you just said, Sue, being able to read, keep it, recognize the trends, recognize what's likely to work and isn't likely to work, getting a little bit of your keyword research, mixing that in. Now you're ready to do a branded bundle and give it the maximum chance of actually getting some traction and going somewhere. So those replen skills serve your branded bundle success. I just want to make sure and emphasize that for folks. That's why we start people there because it is a foundation that helps you no matter which direction you go from there. It's like those basic ninja skills of navigating Amazon.
Yeah, and so I think for the branded bundle business, As more time has gone by, I've gotten a bit smarter in my selections, what I'm going to come out with, using, as we said, some of the replens. And then, there was a little FOMO. So I was just like, I should probably go get the course and do the proven bundle course, which was great. And it's extremely content rich. There's a lot of things that you can dive into. And, I would say my biggest thing for anyone that's gone through the course is just try one. I think you can get overwhelmed a little bit with like all of the data and trying to make sure it's perfect, but just go ahead and try it and just kind of start to build your listings, start to see what's going to work. I was not using all the data tools that Leanna and Nathan were. I was not using Helium 10 and had success without it, but decided like, okay, well, I'm going to go look. I'm going to get Helium 10. And it's actually been really good for me to go back and see which ones were not successful after having taken the course. And now I understand why they were not successful and they probably should never have been launched to begin with, and which ones, frankly, were successful and the data behind it and the keywords behind it, and really trying to optimize my listings and PPC, to have a greater launch and a greater success with the bundles. So I've enjoyed the course. It was over 8 weeks. I think I did 5 of the 8 sessions.
Right. Yeah. I think they're kind of wrapping it up now as they're recording this.
Yeah.
That's provenbrandedbundles.com, which is our latest bundle training. It's going to replace some of the older training that we did a couple years ago inside the Proven Amazon course. But fantastic. Yeah. Thanks for talking about that. And you said it's 95% of your business is your private label and your bundles. Do you mind sharing? I didn't ask you before we started recording today, so no pressure, obviously, but about how's that going for you? Like put some numbers behind it if you're okay with that.
Oh yeah, I probably average between 25 and 30,000 a month, which for me is like, it's just me. I have a prep center. I don't have any VAs. If I'm just maintaining my business, that's maybe 8 to 10 hours a week to do that sort of volume. I'm probably 110% ROI and about 23 to 25% net margins. And I just recently, about 2 months ago, started paying myself. It's not huge, but it's enough that's meaningful to say, okay, this is good. I can take some money off the table. I can give myself a salary and then still have money to invest back into my business. Do I think my business could be a lot bigger? Of course. Like I know what I need to do. It's just a function of do I want to spend the time to make it, 50, 75,
You've got
100,000.
rowing teams to think about, right?
I know.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
know.
So no,
A
I
lot of other
totally
stuff
get it.
going on.
I totally get
Um,
it. Yeah. What a beautiful business. 8 to 10 hours or so a week, 25% net on 25 to $30,000 a month with plenty of room to scale. And by no means have you hit a ceiling here on what you're capable of. If anything, this is just foundation for all kinds of other exciting projects and opportunities, including some things. If you ever want to get into leadership around here and do some things around here, and the door is open, you've more than earned. You've got your warrior badge, that's for sure. You've sustained success over a significant period of time. You've got a teacher's heart, obviously. You really care about others. So it'd be a pleasure to plug you in somewhere around here
be
if you're
amazing.
ever interested.
Yeah, of course. Of
Wow.
course.
What a fantastic story. You're going to really encourage some people today, I think. Pardon the interruption. We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I've got to tell you about the sponsor that we have today, Humminbird, Humbird, humminbird.com. There's a link in the show notes. They provide services for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing, and tax advising, as well as we enter that time of the year where taxes are on the mind of especially those of us here in the United States. How do you most efficiently handle the challenges of making sure you get all of your deductions, taking care of all your tax concerns, making sure you do it right without paying too much as an e-commerce seller, as an Amazon business building warrior? They've got some incredible services that you should go check out at humminbird.com. That's spelled HUMNBIRD.com. Let's get back to the program. You've got your warrior badge, that's for sure. You've sustained success over a significant period of time. You've got a teacher's heart, obviously. You really care about others. So it'd be a pleasure to plug you in somewhere around here
Be
if you're
amazing.
ever interested.
Yeah, of course. Of
Wow.
course.
What a fantastic story. You're going to really encourage some people today, I think. Well, we
Oh,
got
I
some
hope
people. I have a feeling I'm just kind of reading the minds of the listeners right now, going, "Okay, talk about that influencer thing. What was that again? 50,000?
yeah,
What?" Right?
yeah. So, what I love about influencer is it's gotten me out of my comfort zone a little bit, and it's really stretched me in ways that I wasn't expecting. So I was approved for, I had a TikTok, or I have a TikTok, and that is how I qualified. So it's really a two-step process. You have to have a social media account to qualify, being Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. They
Was
need to be,
YouTube one or not?
oh, yes, you can do YouTube.
I think it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
they have
that's
to be
maybe
they
how
have
I
to be public.
qualified.
Yeah, they have to be public, so you can't have a
Yeah.
private Facebook group and try to
Yeah.
qualify that way.
Right.
So
If you
based
have if you got a
upon
public following, it doesn't have to be huge. I've heard of people turning on TikTok and a few weeks later they get approved. Now the program's probably going to change over time, which is why we're getting this thing rolled out. That website again, before I let you, but while I'm talking, was provenazinfluencer.com. I'll stick a link in the show notes. That's our training content on this. But yeah, please continue.
yeah, so, then once you are in the program, you have 3 chances to submit 3 videos for on-site commission. And there's definitely some better ways to do it, and, some tiny tips and tricks. I was fortunate that my first 3 that were submitted were accepted for on-site commission. That happened back in May. And then I didn't do anything with it. So I was like, I don't really know. Like, this really isn't my thing. I don't know if I want to do anything with it. And then when I was at the conference, I think I was overwhelmed by like all of the amazing ideas and the amazing ways that you can make money. And I just kind of said, well, no one's really talking about influencer. Maybe I just need to go back and do something with it. And I literally started making reviews in the hotel room at the conference of like the sink, the shower, whatever. And so that's kind of where I started. And then I did everything I could inside my house. All I was doing was taking the Amazon lens from the Amazon app, going around scanning stuff in my house. You don't have to, there's no ungating. If it's sold on Amazon, you can do a review video on it. And then I just kind of over time perfected kind of what my style is. I feel like everyone has a different style. So, like for me, I wanted to kind of state what the problem was and then how I solved the problem. My videos are 60 to 90 seconds. I do them on my iPhone. I use Seller Amp to kind of keep me organized. So a lot of times, like if I'm researching something, like I will just like, I've got separate spreadsheets set up for influencer that way. And then the other thing that I've been able to do is just call up friends and family and say like, hey, can I bring you a Starbucks? And can I review your house for a couple of hours?
Right.
And what I
Because the
have found,
constraint you run into is products to review without having to
right,
go buy stuff.
exactly, exactly. So you'd be surprised. Everyone is like a little sheepish about like, ooh, I actually buy a lot of stuff on Amazon. I don't want you to know about it until you get to their house. And then you say, listen, like you're really helping me out. Tell me why you bought this product. And they like just can't stop talking because they've done all this research. They love the product. And a lot of times I'll just film them and put them on my channel because
Right.
they can, there's so much more, they love the product so much they want to talk about it. But that's how I've done a lot of it. And I haven't bought any products. I probably averaging between like $75 a day and $125 a day.
Yeah.
So are they
Yeah.
huge numbers? Not really, but they're meaningful numbers
Right.
and they're numbers that are growing, right?
Of
And
course. Yeah. The math that we did, the course that we're gonna be launching, we had a couple trainers who are going to be doing it. We figured out it's about $8 per month per video is what they were calculating their earnings had been so far, or that's about what they were pulling in. But it's going to vary, obviously.
right,
But you make the video one time, upload it. You don't have to drive traffic. You don't have to do any, keyword marketing or anything. It's just your real work is in picking the products. If you understand replens, you do a little keep of research. Yeah, this thing's hot. It's not seasonal. It's gonna be a nice steady producer for me. It's in a higher price range. People aren't doing these. I mean, some people might be, but you do them for like $5, $6 products. You're not going to
you
make
won't make
hardly any
money.
money.
Yeah.
But you get up into the higher price point products, and there's some things you can kind of look for, and you've got to be genuinely helpful. I mean, you can't just say, hey, this is the product and here's how you buy it. Like, no, you can't make trash. It's not going to work.
No, and I started going back and kind of just analyzing the videos I was putting out there and which ones were converting better and really working on my conversion rate. A couple of little tricks that I do, I use Chat GPT. So I
Sure.
literally
Why
just,
not?
copy the listing, and I just throw it in Chat GPT. It spits out for me like three different types of intros. I get 5 bullet points that come out of it, and then I
The
get five
title.
titles. There's 60, characters or less. I
Sure.
have it optimized. I tell it what tone I want. So I think I'm not, I'm trying to do both quantity and quality. And I
Hmm.
think, I'd rather spend the extra time to do it right than just
Hmm.
putting stuff out there. And then there's different commission rates based upon the different categories. Right or wrong, most of the products that I have based upon my background are in the kitchen, which is only 2.3%. So, luxury beauty is like 5%. I'm not like a luxury beauty person. So, like, that's like sad for me, but great for other people. So, I love it. I think it's just been a ton of fun to just kind of review. And I don't think a year ago, if you would have said, like, hey, Sue, are you going to be an influencer? I'd be like, really? Like, no.
Yeah, it's a
But
little
it's
misleading because people think influencer, they're like, well, I don't have 3 million followers on TikTok. I'm not an influencer. No, that's not what we're talking about.
right.
Very minimal influence gets you qualified because, again, from Amazon's perspective, they just want to know that you're someone who's capable of influencing someone to make a purchase. They see some social media proof. You've got some people following you. Okay, make some videos. If your videos lead to sales of products, you're in. If you make it, and again, I love you just said, are you just holding your phone with one hand and talking about the product if you have to hold it in the other hand, kind of stuff? I mean, it's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally that simple. I have a ring light. I have like a selfie stick,
Hmm.
that I use,
That helps. Yeah, if you need a wider angle.
and
Yep.
then I've even so like when I go to people's houses, I'm like, "Do you
Mhm.
want me to teach you how to do this?" But
Why
I've only
not?
had one person. I've only had one person that has
Yeah,
actually taken me up on it,
sure.
but she has, we've worked together on client projects. She's also a recipe developer, so between the two of us, we have so much stuff, and she had a really strong social media following. So we've been working on stuff together, including reaching out to brands now and doing joint opportunities and gift collaborations with brands where if they work with us, now they're going to get 2 videos, like one from each one of us, on our influencer pages and Amazon. So there's great opportunities to partner with people
Yeah.
to really
One of
just
the things I plan to do is just go and pay for the time at one of these local, equipment rental places, and just pay them to demonstrate the high-end products there that happen to be on Amazon, right? Like,
yeah,
why not
yeah.
spend a day, have them
Well, and
demonstrate?
the other thing I've done is when I've traveled, I will now pull up an Airbnb listing and I'll scan the entire listing with Amazon Lens. Is that table on Amazon? Great. I'm going to go and
Right.
like that's where I'm going to stay instead of maybe staying at a hotel. So I can just kind of like, scan the entire house and do
Yeah.
videos.
Seeing new stuff you can review without having to pay for it becomes the game, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's provenazinfluencer.com. There's a link in the show notes. We're launching that class with all kinds of great creative ideas, and would love to have you as a part of it, Sue, just to come on in and share what you know and maybe learn a few new things as well. I think the collaboration of the people from this community as we start to do this in a larger number. And again, millions of products are eligible for these videos. It's not like we're going to be stepping on each other. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool program. So that's coming. Well, I know one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was our upcoming event in May,
Yeah.
because that's The Proven Conference is the website, 3 words, theprovenconference.com, May of 2024. That's the 23rd through the 25th in Orlando, Florida. You've got plans to be there, correct?
Absolutely. I do.
And
And I did it right, like literally from my phone at the conference this year in
right,
Ohio. It was such a great conference, and, it seems so cliche because everyone says this about the relationships and the people that you meet. but that was really amazing to just be surrounded with other people that are going through the same journey as you. I even had a chance to sit down, because I was doing some branded bundles and I was, at a VIP table and we started talking about it. I had done a workshop for my mastermind on branded bundles. And so I had like a little PowerPoint presentation. And this was before obviously like the new courses come out. So, but I shared with some people at my, VIP table and, these sellers that were amazing and have been around for 10 years. Like, can we have lunch with you to learn more? And I was like, absolutely. Like, and that's the sort of like relationships that come out of there. There was a ton of content, overwhelmed with how much content, I came back and I was like, oh, I've got to learn how to do Lego buy and sell. I've got to like go do print on demand and more bundles and like, path to 100 ACIDs. Like that sounds great. And I think I failed miserably when I first came back because I was trying to do a little bit of everything and got absolutely nothing done. So
Yes.
I really just kind of said, I just need to focus in on like, what do I do well that I can do
Mhm.
better? And that was bundles and private label. And
Mhm.
then, what's something new that I want to try that was influencer and what's something I completely suck at and I really need to learn. And that was PPC. So that's kind of like my three things that I really came out of focusing on from the conference.
That's some great advice kind of packed neatly in there. And I call it right ideas versus good ideas. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about that before, Sue, but I call good ideas dangerous and even toxic because there's so many of them out there and they can
Yeah.
distract you from ever accomplishing anything. Good ideas are everywhere. But the right idea, and I like how you identified it, the stuff that you're kind of already positioned for, like life has kind of been leading me to this moment. It makes sense. I've got the connections, the experience, I've got and we start people with replens because it doesn't take a lot of connections or experience or skills. That's a low level thing anybody can step into and learn the basics. But once you're there, what makes sense? What's right for me? And no one can answer that question for you necessarily, although a good coach can certainly help. But yeah, like you said, we had 40 sessions at this last event. I haven't seen all the videos from the last event. There were a lot of really good sessions. I just didn't make it to. I couldn't possibly. I asked on our leadership team of the 40 sessions that we just had. This was like after the event, we're kind of like, going over the event. I said, how many of you went to more than 6 sessions? Only about half of them did. Of the 40, like there's just so many great, when you get all the videos, obviously you can go back to them anytime you'd like. But it really is about the relationships. The content is great. You get the recordings, be there, be a part of it. But I love how you said, okay, what was the right ideas for me? What's something I want to try and experiment with? Of the 15 things it could be, let's play with one. And that was the influencer for you. And you're doing well with it because you focused in and you did what it took. And you've cranked out how many videos at this point of your 90-second videos?
Oh, I have a lot. I have 800.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's significant work, right? That's an
it's a lot of
intimidating
work
number.
it's a lot of work. And I think we can all say like, oh, I'm just making like dumb videos on my phone, but it takes time. So,
Yeah.
a lot of
Absolutely.
time
And I would
goes.
say it's an 80-20 rule too. Like, wouldn't is there a Pareto principle playing out here where most of your revenue is coming from your top 20, 25% of your
Um,
videos? Have you taken a look at that?
it's maybe I would say there's certain categories that I play better in just
Yeah.
because I'm very knowledgeable in
Right.
certain things in the kitchen. So I can
Right.
demonstrate that a little bit better. Amazon was a little weird this past month with the incentive. Like people were saying, like, they weren't getting seen as well. So I think things are beginning to sort of settle down. And it takes a bit of time to get on the carousel too. So, like, I probably have 100 videos that have been recently uploaded that, I have zero views on because they're not on the carousel. And so, like, Amazon's
Right.
not playing.
Getting them
So,
uploaded takes a little time, but still, kudos to you. So you got a new skill, you got a new thing you're experimenting with. You getting this stuff, you're keeping this stuff bolted down that's worked in the past. You're not losing sight of that. Trying a new thing. You're not trying 10 new things. You're trying one new thing, and you're doing it right. We're going to bolt that down soon. Have a system that's going to fit into your schedule, nice and clean. And the one uncomfortable thing that you're playing with that you feel like you need to be stronger with. Although I would argue on the pay per click side, which is one you mentioned, that new skill, I don't really have a lot of skill there. That's where it's easy to just bring in a pro. It's like, hey,
yeah.
do
Well,
this for me.
my first agent, that's what I did. I hired someone and she did a phenomenal job. I hired her on Fiverr and She's out of Utah, and she just knocked it out of the park on that ASIN. And I could really see the power of PPC when it's done well. And then, of course, I'm like, well, let me try it by myself. And then that was like miserable. So, and there's a balance. I'm using some AI technology now for my PPC, which is certainly helping and automating some things, but it's not perfect. I need to get better at it. And
Yeah, that's a constant moving target too. If
yeah.
it's working, there's competitors coming. That's always a factor too. So,
But even with, advertising my branded bundles and my private label, the influencer side has opened up my eyes to other things. So like today, I just launched a special social media deal for one of my, bundles, which is a deal code. And there's a lot of people have their own Facebook groups just with Amazon deals. So working directly with them to launch things that way, doing gift collaborations. One of the things, if you're an influencer and you're a brand owner, I'm not allowed to do a review of my own products. And so having gift collaborations with other people that can actually do a video review. And
right.
I know what's
Nothing wrong
selling
with
my
that.
stuff, right? So I have no problem telling them, like, you should make money off of this. This product is selling. It'd be great if you could do a review on it. Let me send you some products. So it's really like, I feel like that combination of both influencer and branded bundles has actually worked really remarkably well together.
That's fantastic. Yes. And I hate to admit it, but that hadn't even clicked in my head yet. Here we are launching the world's foremost training, in my opinion. I'm a little biased on branded bundles, provenbrandedbundles.com, and the provenazinfluencer.com program. The two go together beautifully. I hadn't even occurred to me yet, but you're doing it. That's what
Yeah,
you're
they
talking
they
about.
they go together great. The other thing I'd say about bundles, and because I didn't watch all of the sessions, maybe they mentioned this, but virtual bundles, I do those too, and those have been a lot of fun to kind of like really think about. It's also a great way to do a seasonal bundle.
Mhm.
So imagine, we're coming up on Halloween, right? So like you can have a candy bowl as a separate ASIN and a box of candy as your other ASIN, and then you can do a virtual bundle with those together. And so when Halloween's over, replace that, create another ASIN with a Christmas dish, and so you can always have these seasonal virtual bundles if that's how you want to do it. So
And
that's been fun.
Amazon will assemble it for you. You don't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
If it's ASINs that are in stock that you're under your control, bundle them up. Let's go. Yep. That's beautiful tip. So many golden nuggets. I think this is one of those episodes where I feel like we've introduced, I don't know, 5, maybe 7 topics that we easily could have committed a full hour, 2, 3, a course, but you're doing it. That's the beauty. I want to remind the listeners, this isn't about diving in deep and giving you every possible piece of the information you're going to need in order to do this, because this is going out to a wide audience, but it is saying, hey, this stuff works. It's worth dropping a couple dollars to get the course for the one that's right for you. Not a good idea. If you just took good ideas from today, don't do anything. If you feel like one of these ideas is a right idea, that's the one you need to buckle down, turn off Netflix for a few weeks and learn it, do it, launch it, and you're gonna see the benefits of it. Excellent, Sue. Well, what else is on your mind today? You're just a wealth of information. You're an inspiration. You're a
Oh,
warrior.
I hope so. I hope so. The only other thing that's really on my mind, and I listened to one of your podcasts where, there's a little bit about, being, having a disability and potentially like, is this a good option for you? And I think when I was coming out of my injuries, I wanted something I joke about it. Like I sit on my couch, it's like I needed something I could sit on my couch and like really not have to move a whole lot. And I think that that is really beautiful with this business. Like you don't have to be in an office. You can sit on the corner of your couch. There was a portion in my recovery where I was in a wheelchair. Like I was not doing Amazon then, but certainly I could have if that was something that, I was ready to do at that point in my life. But I would say it's a business for anyone and everyone. And it does take a lot of focus and determination. It's not an easy business, and I think
No.
sometimes when we talk about all of these, successes, and I hear so many other podcasts where I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like they did $100,000. Like, that's an amazing success. It's a lot of hard work. That's
It
really
is.
a lot of hard work. And I think it's okay to crawl first, and then walk and then run because, I didn't want to take out any loans. I wanted to reinvest everything back into the business. You don't have to go out and start out at, 25,000, 100,000. You can start small. You can build and make the business successful. And I'm happy with kind of how I've approached my business. I've made a ton of mistakes too, and I've learned from those mistakes. They just thankfully weren't huge financial mistakes for me, but that would be my message is like, if you're on the fence about starting, just start. Like you can do hard things. Like we can all do hard things. We can get out of our comfort zone and do something that maybe you didn't think a year ago you could do. So there you go. And if you have any sort of like physical ailments where it's like you need to just sit and rest and put your feet up, and that's me all the time. It's a great business to be able to do that with.
I have this visual of you on stage saying that in front of a whole bunch of people, and they just stood up and clapped because you just encouraged them all. One of the things I love about this show and the guests we've had with over 700 episodes at this point is if you stick around long enough, whatever excuse you have, we're going to destroy it in about 13, 15 different ways. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing left on the table for you to say, well, it worked for them, but it can't work for me because like we've removed everything that comes next.
Yeah,
Every
absolutely.
excuse. If you've got the discipline, it really comes down to do you have the discipline? Yes, everything in life worth having is hard, right? I mean, come on. You should have learned that in kindergarten. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Now I'm here to tell you, right? Business included, Amazon included. Yes, it's going to take a little work, but there's no other excuse. I feel inspired and encouraged and rejuvenated just hanging out with you today. I've got to imagine a lot of other people feel the same way. So thank you, Sue. That was fantastic.
Of course, it's been an absolute pleasure being here. It truly has. And hopefully there's some words of nuggets and, some words of inspiration for people.
Oh, this is one of those go back and listen to it again episodes. I can tell you already. I've done enough of these to know this is going to be one that's like, why is this one getting twice as many listens? Oh, that's right. People are listening to it twice and scribbling notes. So much good stuff in there. Well, God bless you, Sue. Good hanging out with you. Can't wait to see you in May and your whole crew. Get them all down
Yeah,
there
we're
and
so excited to be there.
get a group
And,
picture.
yeah,
Yeah.
come find us. Like, come talk to us. Don't be scared. I'm a little bit of a social introvert, as I say, but, it's like cocktail parties and like hanging around small talk. That's not
Mhm.
my thing, but
Right.
get us talking about something that we are interested in, and we'll talk your ear off all day long. So
That's kind of the dirty little secret of e-commerce is they're about 80% introverts.
yeah,
Everyone
I
goes to
believe
these
it.
things like everyone else already knows each other. I'm an introvert. Should I even have come? And like everybody, it's kind of like middle school dance, It's like, I don't know if you should have come to this thing or not. But by the end, it's like that. I've always said it's like that end of summer camp feeling, when you're a kid, it's like, oh, it's over already. This was so great. And so many good people. And I can't wait to do this again. It's just if you've never done it, this is going to be our 12th one coming up, which that's crazy, Sue. In all of e-commerce, I haven't found another event that's run 12 annual events. Like that's,
Yeah.
I think we're the champs right now. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's out there. I haven't seen
And
it.
you're the best. I went to another conference with the other group that I'm with, and it wasn't the level of detail, the instruction, the inspiration. I just got so much value out of just going to the conference. It
Well,
truly.
thanks for that. Well, instruct me a little bit. I always like hearing, and this could be on or off the record. It's up to you, but we're always looking for ways to improve it. But what was it? What is it you think makes the difference? I think I'd like to think that I know what those elements are that we focus on that make it different, special, and has sustained. But what's your perspective? Having been to a few others, and
Yeah, I think it's digging deep on the content in a way that you can really move your business forward. And I think a lot of the other conferences can get a little superficial. Just go in and scan and then you can flip a profit versus like, hey, this is really like, the replens business. This is how you get a path to 100 ASINs. This is what you need to be looking for. That was a great session, with the Olsons. And I walked away from there going like, oh, I should probably go do 100 ASINs. Like, have I done 100 ASINs? Of course not. But here's the big but. The lessons that they teach in the Keepa and understanding like where your dropout is and like where the potential is and where you should be playing, those are 100% translatable into branded bundles. And so understanding that piece of it was super helpful. So even if you end up in a session where it's not 100% aligned with your business, that's okay. I think maybe something that and I think I might have mentioned this before, it would have been great. I missed my mastermind because I needed to go to the PPC. So like some of that, it wasn't like offered twice. I felt really bad. So maybe not having those conflicts, I think it would have
We've
also
heard that feedback. We try to make the VIP experience as far as where we assign you a mastermind so that it doesn't conflict with any other sessions. We've had a significant amount of that feedback. So we may have to bump that as a, you know, go late one day or day two or something and make it happen then. We did have it at the end of the day, but it was overlapping some other events. So yeah, for those who don't know what we're talking about, if you come as a VIP, which will sell out, we've already sold out a lot of those tickets in the pre-sale that went out to only to attendees last year. So when tickets go on sale here soon, theprovenconference.com, if you choose VIP, you'll get assigned to a mastermind group, and that group will meet at the event. But like Sue was saying, we met during other sessions, so some people were a little torn. Right. I
Yeah.
hear you on that. Thanks for that feedback.
Yeah, and it also might be nice to have some sort of coding system. So like if you want to be inspired, this is an inspirational,
Ooh,
breakout that you can go to. If you
inspiration track. Yeah.
right, if
Well,
you
we had
need
the newbie track this year, which I think was a
right.
success.
But I
But
think when I was going through some of them, I was more focused on instructional material, and some
Mhm.
other people that I was with for my mastermind really wanted to be more on the inspirational side and kind of lift them up.
Mhm.
And I think, some of them we weren't sure which one was which. So we
Yeah.
ended up, it's like, oh, it's perfect for them and not so great for me. But we actually, we were sharing with each other in our mastermind. There's three of us from our mastermind that were there in person and a bunch of people doing it virtually. So we would just quickly put a group chat and say, okay, this is what I learned. And we started calling it like, this is an inspirational one. Like this is an instructional one. So like, if you need to learn, go watch this. If you want to be inspired, go watch this instead. So that's
That's
just something.
so great. You did the event as a group with your virtual mastermind. I love it. I had no idea that you guys had done that. I love at the event just kind of wandering around and seeing groups gathered. And in one case, I walked up, I'm like, you guys look like you know each other. It's like, yeah, we've never actually all been at the same place at the same time, but we've been a mastermind group for like 3.5 years. All started off as
Yeah.
proven Amazon course students, all have beautiful businesses. They meet weekly and encourage each other, and they'd never been together before. And there they were at the event. And I was like, I was the outsider. I was the total stranger. They were all like getting back to their conversation as soon as I left because they were just thrilled to be together. I love those kind of organic relationships that have sprung up in the group. And if you're not tapping into that, I'm speaking to the listeners today. If you're not tapping into that with intentionality, you're missing out on a lot of the benefit of what this community has to offer, because you can't do business alone. Lone wolves do not survive in any environment, specifically the lonely arena of e-commerce. If you're trying to do it as a lone wolf, you're missing out.
And
So
it's a simple DM to someone, right? Like, my first response I had was someone within the community. They had asked something about bundles. I had responded there. I think they might have been looking for a lawyer. I can't remember. I had responded, and then we started communicating. We realized that we lived 45 minutes apart from each other. And so we actually met up in person.
that's great.
It was just like, here's what I'm doing. And, she had been selling longer than I have and sharing that information. And, so I understand for me and how I work, like I work better with people. I work better surrounded with people that I'm comfortable asking dumb questions to and being like, okay, that's a dumb question. Like, can you help me out? And I just like sharing. I really enjoy helping other people. So, if something, and especially if there's things that I've gone through that maybe mistakes that I've made and you can avoid that mistake, let me share this mistake that I made. And this is why you don't want to do that. So, it's all you have to do is like, you don't wait to be asked into a mastermind, just create your own.
That's right. Two thoughts on what you just said. One is you said you just love to share. And I think if we went back and parse on, I'm not a psychologist or a counselor, but I'd like to think sometimes I'd be a decent one. But I'd like to think that just kind of getting to know you today, that a lot of what pulled you out of that dark place, you mentioned the kids, the rowing, wanting to get back to that, without exception, having done 700 plus episodes of this podcast and a lot of conversations offline with other entrepreneurs who have been through a dark place, it's becoming other focused. That's the point I'm trying to make. Having that other focused goal in mind. I want to get back to the point where I can help others fill in the blank, whatever it is. And then intentionally setting about that. Even look at, like, and I've mentioned this on a few episodes recently, like even traditional recovery programs, like you went through a physical recovery. There's people who go through substance recovery, abuse recovery. They all have the same plan. You start off in a place where things are out of control and you need help, and you recognize that, and you get the help you need, and you step through the steps. And at the end, you're helping other people get out of whatever it is that they're facing. Maybe it's the same thing you faced, maybe it's something else, but you have that warrior spirit now, and you're helping them, that other oriented, where you're doing it with others and you're doing it for others. And as entrepreneurs, we're just surrounded with opportunities to do that. So don't isolate, make it about others. That's how you get out of that dark place. And the other thing I wanted to point out was you kind of randomly discovered someone who lived 45 minutes from you. Well, in our Facebook group, our free group at silentjim.com, there's some instructions in the top featured videos that tell you how to find people who live near you and intentionally reach out and form those communities. And maybe there's already a group formed near you and you just don't know about it. With 74,000 of us, good odds that there's someone within reasonable distance of you could be connecting with on a regular basis. We'd love to see that happen. But those are the two things that came to mind when I was listening to you talk there, that last segment. But I have a feeling we could do this all day, but I need to start wrapping this one up. You've been a tremendous guest, Sue. Thank you. Anything else on your mind before we wrapped up?
No, I'm
pretty
good.
Awesome. Well, you did a tremendous job. Thank you. So just talk to the listeners today. If this is the first time you've ever heard our podcast, I would strongly encourage you to get over to silentjim.com. Check out hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed the successful students from our community who are doing incredible things. Be inspired and encouraged by those stories. And certainly, I think the call to action I'd like to leave you with is get out your calendar app right now. Pause this if you have to. Go to theprovenconference.com. Circle the dates on your calendar. Plan to be there. Sign up for notification when tickets go on sale if they're not on sale yet. Plan to get VIP if you want all the benefits that come with it, because that will sell out. We may or may not sell out the general admission, but VIP will sell out. I'm just telling you. So if you want to be a part of that, you'll want to lock those in pretty fast when they go on sale. But God bless the business building warriors. Sue, one last time. Great job, my friend. You did a tremendous job today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll have you back again soon, and we'll have another great episode for the listeners very soon. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Before I let you go, one last reminder, hummingbird.com, today's sponsor for all your trademarks, corporate setup, branding, marketing needs, and yes, tax services as an Amazon e-commerce seller. Book a schedule appointment with them today to take care of all those paperwork things that you don't want to have to mess with. They're really good at it. They'll take good care of you. Tell them I sent you. Hummingbird.com, HUMNBIRD.com. Thanks for being a sponsor of this program. Hey, we'll see you next time.